Some of America's air traffic systems are being kept alive by dismantling their own spare machines, not because the technology stopped working, but because nobody manufactures the parts anymore. A later review found that 105 of the FAA's 138 air traffic control systems were unsustainable or potentially unsustainable. Years earlier, the failure of its more than 30-year-old NOTAM system forced a nationwide ground stop. That outage was not caused by an obsolete chip, but it exposed the same deeper danger. Machines we cannot switch off are outliving the markets and the people that know how to keep them alive. When the last trusted spare disappears, a $20 component can become a $1 million emergency.
The trap begins with two clocks. Consumer electronics may be replaced after a few years. Defense and infrastructure equipment can serve for decades. Long before the machine retires, its chipmaker may close the product line, scrap tooling, merge, or leave the market. Engineers call this DMSMS, diminishing manufacturing sources and material shortages. Picture a technician opening a repair manual at 3 in the morning, finding the exact part number, and discovering that nobody sells it anymore. The machine has years of work ahead. Its supply chain has already died. That mismatch turns an ordinary component into something no catalog price can explain.
That mismatch is economic. As chip factories became more expensive, the industry specialized around enormous production runs. Consumer demand rewarded volume, rapid turnover, and the next generation, not long support for yesterday's technology. GAO found that commercial microelectronics have short life cycles, while low-volume defense demand has little influence over what manufacturers keep alive. So a component can remain essential to a mission after it becomes irrelevant to the market. The chip did not stop working, it lost the economic vote. That is how useful silicone becomes legacy silicone, and how a tiny component becomes an enormous liability.
Now the price paradox makes sense. Naval Sea Systems Command warns that redesign is often the most expensive response to obsolescence, sometimes costing millions. The bill includes engineering, field changes, documents, software, testing, training, and configuration control. Imagine a $20 chip inside a qualified board. If no approved substitute exists, the operator is not buying another $20 object. It is buying permission to change everything around that object without breaking the mission. The part is cheap. The permission to replace it is expensive. But why should one tiny substitution reach so far?
In critical infrastructure, a component is rarely just a component. Its voltage, timing, heat, interfaces, software assumptions, and failure modes are woven into the larger machine. Change the silicon, and the board may change. Change the board, and software may follow. Then come new tests, documents, training, safety review, and approval. A modern part can be faster and still be wrong. Redesign introduces risks that must be controlled before deployment. The old chip survives, not because it is better, but because its behavior is known. So operators delay redesign and search for technology the original market abandoned.
That search enters a market hidden in plain sight. First, original manufacturers and final inventory. Then aftermarket producers, government stockpiles, specialist distributors, repair depots, and brokers hunting old stock worldwide. Each step away from the factory adds uncertainty. At the clean end, a sealed tray comes with controlled storage and an unbroken history. At the risky end, the buyer gets a photograph, a date code, and a promise. Scarcity changes what the customer pays for, not speed or manufacturing cost, but evidence. The last trustworthy chip is valuable because it can keep a qualified board alive. And wherever trust becomes expensive, fraud finds an opening.
The real secondary market is more controlled than a junkyard. Teams use documented donor equipment, inspect new old stock, repair boards, qualify substitutes, and sometimes buy a manufacturer's final run. But every rescue route has a trap. Was the donor exposed to heat? Was the lifetime buy miscalculated? Was a recycled device polished and sold as unused? Does the paperwork follow the part? A component can be genuine and still be unusable. It can work on a bench and still lack evidence for service. Finding silicon is only the first test. When the paper trail breaks, the next stop is a forensic lab.
In 2012, GAO created a fictitious company and shopped online for military-grade parts. This was a targeted test, not a market-wide estimate. Buyers requested rare components and date codes from after production had supposedly ended. All 12 parts received in those testable categories were judged suspect counterfeit. Some had been sanded, resurfaced, and remarked. Others carried altered dates. The label was a costume. Labs used X-rays, electron microscopes, visual inspection, and materials analysis to look beneath it. Then the twist. Old is not the same as unsafe. A verified older part may be serviceable. A shiny part from a false source may be dangerous. Age is a date. Trustworthiness is a conclusion.
Now add a second vanishing resource: memory. FAA reported spare part problems across 61 systems and expertise problems across 62. On one, most experienced maintainers had retired. The few people left with some necessary knowledge were close behind. The silicon is only half the legacy. The other half can live in handwritten notes, undocumented adjustments, maintenance habits, and the engineer who remembers why one circuit behaves differently at 3 in the morning. Inventory can be counted. Tacit knowledge often cannot, until it walks out the door. Even a perfect replacement is useless if nobody remembers what the system needs from it.
When both part and memory disappear, replacement becomes reconstruction. Could a modern foundry clone the chip? Maybe. But original masks, process details, package materials, test programs, or supplier knowledge may be gone. A logically equivalent device can still differ in timing, electrical noise, temperature response, radiation tolerance, or undocumented behavior. Engineers can reproduce functions with modern microcontrollers, programmable logic, or emulation. Then they must compare what the replacement actually does, not just what the old specification says. This is digital archaeology, rebuilding behavior from incomplete evidence. 2 oscilloscope traces can look identical, then separate at the one edge the machine depends on. Almost is not enough.
Now scale that reconstruction from one rack to infrastructure that cannot pause for surgery. Nuclear plants are introducing digital upgrades to replace obsolete analog controls. Each change must meet safety expectations before service. Across the grid, new communications must coexist with legacy functions still carrying the load. The grid is not one computer waiting for a restart. It is a continent of equipment installed across different decades and expected to work through the upgrade. Modernization happens while the patient remains awake. That is why delayed replacement tightens several clocks at once.
The real cliff is not the day every legacy chip fails. It is when the last safe option disappears. A supplier closes. Qualified stock shrinks. A broker offers parts with an incomplete history. A specialist retires. A security requirement arrives that old hardware cannot absorb. Then the modernization schedule slips again. In FAA's 2024 review, some critical at-risk systems were still 10 to 13 years from planned completion, and 4 had no active modernization investment. Alone, each problem is manageable. Together, they create maintenance debt. Risk pushed forward because one more year looks cheaper than replacement. Eventually, the organization is no longer choosing the old system. It is trapped inside it, because every exit has become more disruptive.
The people racing that cliff practice obsolescence management. The countdown often starts with a boring email, end of life. Then a team tracks every affected part and asks 4 questions. Can we buy final stock, qualify an alternate, emulate the old function, or must we redesign? NASA maintains a formal standard for this work, and Defense has managed DMSMS for decades. The goal is not to preserve every old chip forever. It is to see the shortage while choices remain. A warning found years early can become a planned buy. Found after the shelf is empty, it becomes an emergency.
But better purchasing only buys time. The durable escape is to make the next replacement less painful. Stable interfaces can isolate hardware changes. Modular architecture can stop one obsolete part from forcing redesign everywhere. Qualified programmable logic can reproduce a function without rebuilding an extinct factory. Documentation can preserve behavior before experts retire. Final stock can create breathing room, but only when storage and demand are understood. None of this makes modernization effortless. It contains the blast radius of change. The goal is not to replace everything tomorrow. It is to ensure tomorrow's vanished part cannot trap the whole machine. Resilience is not owning the newest chip. It is being able to change safely.
Cannibalizing a spare rack does not solve obsolescence. It buys time. Behind every surviving legacy component is a chain: authentic parts, controlled storage, test evidence, technical documents, trained maintainers, and a modernization plan. Break one link, and a cheap component can become a mission-scale problem. Keep the chain intact, and yesterday's silicon can serve until a qualified replacement is ready. That is the meaning of legacy silicon. The danger is not old hardware. It is a system that has lost the evidence, expertise, or options required to change. A system that has forgotten how to change.